Right, well, welcome everybody. My name is Jake Dooley. I'm with Local Vest, and we link investors with great opportunities to invest their money in amazing opportunities. And I'm very excited about the one that we have today because we spend a lot of time talking about what's happening in big growth areas like the Sun Belt. And there are amazing things happening in other parts of the country like Madison. And that's what I've enjoyed learning over the last several months about all the great things that are happening there, both as a community and growth, but then also this amazing project, which has some really unique mitigated risks that Erica is going to talk to you about. But before we get started, a few logistical items that we have. So this is a Zoom webinar, which means you can see us, you can hear us. We cannot see and hear you, but the chat is open. So if you have any questions along the way that you want to ask Eric, you can feel free to put those in the chat. And we're going to do some questions at the end. If there are any, be able to pull those up and ask them there. That also means you can communicate back and forth with us. If we don't happen to get to a question, you need a clarifying question, you'll be able to reach out to the team at Vario Equity and be able to ask them those questions as well. And as I said, there's also some polls along the way that we'll be able to ask you. I'm just going to click on those and you'll be able to answer those, just a few, so we learn about you. And then also, there will be the recordings sent out to all of you who are here and who've registered, so you'll be able to see that. So if you have questions about what you saw, you can go back and watch that. And it's also where we'll be able to give you contact information. You don't have to scramble writing down phone numbers or email addresses. You'll have all of those sent to you because you registered. So I believe that's all the information I have from a logistics standpoint. Like I said, I'm very excited to have Eric from Vario Equity explain what Baker's Place is all about and your opportunity to invest in the Madison market. So Eric, I will turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Jake. Appreciate it. My apologies. All right. So thank you all for joining, and good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. I would like to present the mass timber multi-family development that we have in Madison, Wisconsin. And here's just a nice picture of it. And I'll be going over all the details. And then probably about 10 or 15 minutes. And then at the end, I'll open it up to some questions. But like Jake said, if you have some questions in the meantime, feel free to put those in play. Here's a little bit of our disclosures. And so now I'd like to tell you a little bit about our development team. It's kind of unique because we have three different companies or three different entities all working together to build this project. The Neutral project started this 2.5 years ago. It's a very, very long process to get something like this built with all the board members that all the boards and associations that you need approval on. And so the first part, Neutral is actually built over 2,000 multifamily units. So they have a lot of experience. And they paired up with us about 1.5 years ago as they were looking for capital. And so I'm part of Vario Equity. Vario Equity raises capital for different real estate projects. And I personally have raised over $55 million for different private placements. And so I'm really excited about this project. And I'll show you why and explain some of the numbers as we go through this. And then our last company is Compass Properties. So Compass Properties actually owns and operates over 1.5 million square feet of commercial real estate in Wisconsin. So they know the market extremely well. The majority of their assets are actually held in Madison, Wisconsin. And so just because it's a really a cool town to have property, and I'll explain that just a bit. So the current housing situation. So why Madison, Wisconsin? One, I live here, I know the area very well, but what about the demographics and why would we want to build an apartment building? And so it's a huge growing untapped market. And what I mean by that, right now, there's over 3,000 units of housing that's needed, either in apartments or in housing. It's third quarter of last year, there was 14,000 people that moved to Madison. And for some of you that don't know, Madison is home of Wolf Sub-Zero. It's home to over 50 insurance companies' headquarters. It's a big UW, obviously the UW-Madison college market, as well as health. It's a huge health and biotech. So some of you may have heard of Exact Sciences. They're it's a biotech company, and then also Epic. Well, Epic is what a lot of the medical clinics use for their digital healthcare records. Next year, the lady that owns that company will hire 2,500 people for the Madison area. So that's where some of the growth is coming from. But again, all those other things that I had mentioned. Kind of interesting, U-Haul actually has a ranking. They rank cities based on how many one-way rentals are in throughout the country. Madison had the third highest one-way U-Haul rentals to Madison. And again, based on those numbers of 14,000 people moving in just the third quarter of last year. So it's a really pretty area. If you've never been, you can see Baker's Place is going to be located on the in between two huge lakes. It's on an isthmus. And when you look at the Capitol, you'll notice that there are no buildings taller than the Capitol, and that is by design. The tallest you can build in Madison is 14 stories high. So not only do you have a limited amount of area, you can't go up that high either. So that's why we believe it's a fantastic market, and the market has been 98% occupied. Apartment buildings have been 98% occupied over the last 10 years. So our solution for part of it, right? We're building a 206 unit apartment building. But we just didn't want to build any type of building. We wanted to build a very unique one. So we're building a mass timber. Mass timber, for those of you who don't know, it's been around for 50 years. There's projects on the West Coast. There's actually the tallest timber structure in Milwaukee, just 70 miles away. But it's been around a very long time. And part of the reason why we wanted to do it is and I'll jump into this, but we have a lot of experience. One of our gentlemen on our team actually has built the largest timber apartment building in the world at 25 stories high in Milwaukee. So he's on our team as well. But what he was mentioning is that one, because the project is not as heavy, the foundation, you can build much faster. So, and everything is pre-designed. So every level is almost like putting together a Lego piece. You know, they ship us the actual different floors, and we put the first floor together, and we put the second and third. And with a 12-person team, they were doing one floor every 2 or 3 weeks. So it's very, very efficient process, but more importantly, it's extremely pretty. And I'll show you some pictures in just a bit. But let's talk about the location. We're right downtown Madison. We're 1 mile off the Capitol. And it's where all the apartment buildings have been built, and American Family, and I'll get into some other pictures as well. But so we have a 14-story, 206 units, and we have a little bit of retail space, 8,400 square feet, and we are looking at some boutique shops. We have some restaurants, and I think it's going to be a really unique opportunity. And if you look at this middle picture, it's called a muse. In between the top picture, you've got Baker's Place. That's this brick building on the far right. That structure is being kept there. It's an old bakery, so that's where it gets its name on Baker's Place. And then these are called a muse in between. So just little areas to have conversations and obviously enter the building. The other household income, which is pretty exciting, is that Madison is very affluent. We have in a 3-mile radius over 14,000 individuals that have $100,000 income or greater, and obviously that's important because you don't want to be outpriced in the market. And I'll talk about market rates, rental rates, what we project, and what's actually being leased up right now. This is a really cool picture. So I actually went down to Milwaukee, like I said, about an hour from here. And the gentleman that is on our team, his name is Sheldon. He took me through, and I was able to take some pictures. So you can look at these apartments and see how unique they are. When I pulled up, to a 25-story building, and in the upper right picture, you can see all the ceilings are all wood. So it's very, very pretty, very modern. You get a lot of authenticity, and that's what we really wanted to bring. Is when you live at Baker's Place, you say, "Hey, I live at Baker's Place," and people will know where you live. It's just it's very unique, and some people think, well, is it going to be too expensive? Why would you build something like that? And when I get into the numbers, I think it will make more sense as to why we're doing that. So what's really unique about this project compared to other projects is that we're already in construction. We've already secured a bridge loan. So we back up, we raised 25 million out of the 30 million that we needed. And so we closed on the project December 23rd of last year, and we started construction. So as you can see, we're excavating in the green area. This is actually a new hotel that's being built. And then the building behind it, American Family Insurance Company owns that. And it's like an accelerator program. I have an office down here, but there are, I would say, probably at least 100 startups and venture capital funds. So it's a very upbeat, very cool environment. Google is also on the other side of that building. And you can see we'll start the foundation early summer, and we should be 3 stories high, which on the far left, which would be about the height of that building, a little bit taller. And on the left, the picture on the left, excuse me, that's actually the back of the of Baker's Place. So if we go back to this picture, what we're seeing, I'm standing right here, and to the right is where the Baker's building is. So again, this is Baker's Place, and then the apartments are going behind it. So let's talk about the numbers, because I think that's really important. I've been a financial advisor for the last 25 years. So when I'm working with clients and figuring out how do you diversify, how do you make, how much should you put in alternatives? How about in real estate? All these different things. I want to make sure that we're putting people into things that have the highest probability of success with mitigated risk. When we talk about mitigated risk, this project is definitely one of those. And why do I say that? Typically when you invest in a project, they have, they might have all the permitting done, but they don't have financing done. They haven't started digging. They haven't locked in their interest rates, and we've done all of those. So you're actually seeing we only have $5 million to go before we're completely done with our raise. So in our example, we have all of our permitting is complete. The only permit that we're going to need is the occupancy, which of course you have to wait till the building is completed. They walk through it and then they give you the blessing, and then you're allowed to lease it up. So we have all the permits. Financing risk. I'll get this question a lot because interest rates continue to go up. They're fluctuating right now. So, but overall, they've gone up dramatically since December of last year. So we ended up buying a derivative. What that means, we locked in our interest rate. So we know exactly what our interest rate is going to be in January of 2025 when our project is done. So we are locked in at around a 6.5% return. It's a floating, it's an average rate of 6.5%. But if we did not lock that in, right now interest rates are at 8.05%. So that derivative was extremely painful to buy in December of last year. It was very, very expensive, but we locked in and now it's protecting our project. Right now, that derivative, we worked with, I think, Goldman Sachs somewhere on the East Coast, but that derivative is now 3 times more expensive. And so we feel that we got in a good time. And then we talked a little bit about interest rate risk, but then also construction and pricing. So we have what's called a guaranteed maximum price contract. And that just means we already know the entire cost of what this building, the maximum price it can cost. We have all of our bids in and secured pricing for even our appliances. So everything from now until then. So we've locked that in. So when you look at this as an opportunity, like I said, I always talk about what's the opportunity, what's the chance that this is actually going to get the 14 to 17% return. Well, one, we already have the permits. We are already in construction. We've already are 3 months into this, and everything is right on pace, on track. We've locked in our interest rate, and so and the price. Those are all huge considerations when you're investing in a new project, and none of that is locked in because the returns can vary a lot. So the last thing that I want to talk about is the actual, well, what are the rents? Because this is a very unique building. Is it a lot more expensive to build because it is really pretty and unique? Well, what's cool is that there's an apartment building that's just down the street, a little bit closer to the Capitol, and they are charging $3.35 per square foot per month. That means a 1,000 square foot apartment is $3,300 a month in Madison. Madison was had the highest rent increases in the country at 14.1% last year. So now we say, okay, this project has been built, and it's very expensive, $3.35, but are they filling up? They are 40% occupied after 4 months of they completed the project in January. So how does that compare to what we're doing? Well, we are projecting in 2 years from now that our rent is $3.24. It's 11 cents. Doesn't seem like it's a big difference, and it's not. But we're assuming that's the rate we're going to charge in 2 years from now in 2025. So if there's a 5 or a 10% increase in rents like there was last year of 14%, we're way under what the rents are actually going to be. So that can affect the return. Obviously, the more rent we get, the higher the return. So we're projecting at a $3.24 and at 14 to 17% return. So I'm a numbers guy. That's really important to me. That's why I wanted to spend a little bit more time on this, is because I believe we have the highest probability of success based on the information that I just gave you. If you're looking at another project and they haven't locked in financing, haven't locked in the costs, that could be all over the place. And we know that interest rates are a lot higher, so the returns would go down and things are not getting any cheaper. So I'll stop. One other part, we anticipate it's going to take 2 years to build. It's going to take about 1 year to lease up, even though it's probably quicker than that. That's what we have in our pro forma. It's going to take a full year to lease up. And then starting in year 48 months, if we're 95% occupied, we will start paying a 5% distribution to investors. But the goal is to sell this between 48 and 72 months, so a 4 to 7 year hold. And we believe that's where we'll get that 14 to 17% or a 2 to 2.5x return. So what does X return mean? Say you invested 100,000, real simple math. We hit our numbers. We're anticipating you'll get 210,000 up to $250,000 back. So that's where I will stop. We do have one question that we'll send out to you, and it's great to hear things. I'm being very, very high level at this point, but if you wanted to dive in and you had more questions, there is a survey that's going to come out to see if you'd like to have us follow up with you. There are a lot of details that I can share that obviously we just don't have enough time for, that I'd be more than happy to talk with you. So as you click on yes, we would be more than happy to follow out, or no, that's fine too. But like I said, we really appreciate your time, and we think we have a really, really cool opportunity with mitigated risks in an environment where there's so many moving variables anyway, but we've reduced a lot of those. So thank you very much for your time.